The stars were quiet as the golden ships of Earth entered the edge of the neutral zone, a place known for trade talks, secret meetings, and sometimes quiet threats. The golden ships moved slowly like they had all the time in the universe. Their surfaces glowed under the starlight, not painted gold, but made of real gold or something that looked even better. Many alien ships gathered nearby, watching from a distance, some with scanners, others with weapons ready. They laughed over open channels, joked about the strange humans who came dressed like kings but acted like shadows. To them it looked like a parade, like Earth was trying to impress someone, maybe scare someone with shiny toys. But the humans sent no message, made no sound, and showed no fear. The alien commander of the Zarnith fleet, a tall, cold-eyed creature with bone plates on his shoulders, sneered at the view. He said they come wrapped in gold and silence, what fools. Beside him, his second asked, should we warn the council? He waved a hand and said, let them shine. Nothing gold can survive real heat. He ordered 2 scout ships to move in close to scan the human fleet. The scouts approached slowly, engines quiet, shields up. They flew around one of the bigger gold ships, scanning the surface. The computers picked up something strange. The gold was not normal metal. It had layers inside it like veins of light, like it was alive. Before they could finish the scan, the gold ship turned just a little. Its movement was smooth and silent. A soft hum passed through the space around it. The scout pilots felt it like a whisper in the back of their minds. Then their systems froze. The screens blinked white, then black. The engines shut down and the scouts began to drift. The gold ship said nothing, it just watched. Back on the Zarnith flagship, the commander growled. He said they have tricks, but no fire let us show them real power. The fleet charged forward, weapons glowing. Dozens of ships surrounded the gold fleet, weapons locked. They gave one warning, and when the humans still said nothing, they fired. Blasts of energy filled the space like lightning storms. The gold ships took every hit and stayed in place. The beams bounced off like light on mirrors, like rain on stone. Not even a scratch appeared on the golden hulls. Gasps and curses echoed through the alien channels. It was not possible. Nothing could resist that much force. And yet the gold ships did. Then one of the human ships moved. Just one. It turned its front toward the Zarnith fleet. Panels opened like wings and golden light poured out. Not bright like fire, but calm and soft and warm. The alien ship stopped firing. Something in their instincts told them to wait, to fear. Inside the golden ship, a human captain watched the enemy with quiet eyes. He pressed no buttons, gave no orders. The ship knew what to do. The gold around the ship was not just metal. It was a memory. It was something old, something found deep in Earth long ago, something they had studied and mixed into their best ships. It could think, and it could defend. The alien ships began to shake. Their systems blinked and buzzed. Then their engines shut down. Their weapons went cold. No damage, just silence. The golden ship turned and drifted back into formation. Still no words. Still no war. But the message was clear. Earth had something they did not understand, and it had waited until now to show it. The Zarnith commander stood frozen. His pride crushed his fleet silent. He looked at the screen one last time as the gold ships floated like gods in space. He whispered they did not come to shine. They came to show us we were never ready. And then he stepped back from the screen, unsure if they had made a mistake that could never be undone. The galaxy was never silent again after the gold ships arrived. News of the strange battle spread faster than light across the border worlds. Aliens spoke in whispers behind sealed doors. The recordings were clear. Energy blasts bouncing off gold armor. Scout ships disabled without being touched. An entire fleet powerless in front of quiet, glowing ships that never said a word. Some called it a trick. Others called it a warning. But the truth was nobody knew what Earth had done. And that made them afraid. The Zarnith High Council met in secret on their cold black homeworld. They argued for hours. One side wanted peace, the other wanted to strike again. They believed humans could not have built such ships alone. They said someone must have helped them. A hidden race, a forgotten weapon, an ancient gift. They feared what they could not understand. In the end, they agreed to test Earth again. They chose a distant system where no one could see what would happen. There they would ambush a lone human ship far from help, far from peace. The trap was set. A small golden ship was spotted near a gas giant. Its hull shimmered under green light from the planet storms. It moved slowly like it was searching for something. The Zarnith ships jumped in, 10 of them, fast-armed deadly. They surrounded the golden ship in a perfect circle. This time they came prepared. They brought new weapons, blades of plasma, fields that crush metal, waves that could melt shielding. They fired all at once. The blasts roared across space. Light and heat filled the system. But when it cleared, the golden ship was still there, not glowing, not firing, just watching. Not even a single mark showed on its hull. The Zarnith captain ordered a second strike, then a third. Still nothing changed. Then, without warning, the gold began to move. Not the ship itself, but the armor on its surface. It shifted like liquid. Lines of gold flowed across its skin, forming strange shapes. Symbols no one had ever seen. The ship began to hum. Soft, deep, endless. Suddenly, one of the Zarnith ships broke apart from the inside. No blast, no hit. Its systems just failed all at once. Another ship spun out of control. Its engine reversed. Its crew screamed in confusion. They could not understand what was happening. The golden ship had not fired a single shot, and yet everything was falling apart. Back on Earth, deep in a command bunker under the Arctic ice, the scientists watched in silence. They had seen this before, years ago when they first found the core. The golden piece of alien metal buried under frozen rock. They had tested it with care, fed it power, and it grew, not in size but in understanding. It had learned from them. It had protected them. And now it was showing the galaxy what it had learned. The ship in the gas giant system sent no signal. It just turned and left. The enemy ships floated powerless behind it. No lives lost. No debris. Just silence and fear. The Zarnith Council went dark. They closed their borders. Their broadcast stopped. They told the galaxy nothing. But others were watching. Other races who once ignored Earth. Who once laughed at humans. Now they watched with wide eyes. They played the recordings over and over, looking for answers, looking for weakness. But all they found was light, golden and silent and strong. The galactic news hubs called it the return of the golden ghost. Some said Earth had found a weapon. Others believed Earth had become one. A few spoke of legends, of ancient protectors hidden across time, of gold that could not break, of minds that could not die. In the human cities, people walked under sky domes and looked up with pride. Children wore golden pins. Soldiers stood straighter, and the leaders said little. They let the ships speak. Everywhere the gold ships moved, and everywhere silence followed. The galaxy was changing, not because Earth made war, but because Earth did not need to. And the question that burned in every mind across every world was simple. What else are they hiding? Deep beneath the icy crust of the Arctic base, the heart of Earth's secret pulsed without sound. The core sat in a sealed chamber locked behind 20 layers of defense and walls stronger than any known material. No one truly understood what it was, not even the best minds who had studied it for years. They called it the Golden Core not because of its shape or shine, but because of its power and purpose. It was not round, not square, not any normal shape. It changed each time they looked at it. It grew smoother, then sharper, then brighter, and then dimmer. It reacted not to light or heat, but to thoughts and emotions and questions that had not yet been asked. When it first came to Earth, no one noticed. It had crashed inside a piece of space rock barely the size of a small shuttle. It landed during a storm and was buried for years. Only when a mining probe dug into the frozen rock did they discover it. At first, they thought it was dead, just metal, just strange. But then it hummed. A single long vibration, like the breath of something older than time. That sound changed everything. Scientists moved in. Engineers tried to touch it. Some fainted. Some forgot who they were for a few minutes. One man touched it and saw something that made him scream for hours. After that, they never touched it again. Instead, they watched. They placed it in the chamber and built the base around it. They added sensors. They asked questions out loud. Sometimes it answered, not in words, but in changes. Lights flickered. Patterns danced across its golden surface. Machines nearby started working without power. Then one day it began to teach, not with lessons or screens or manuals, but with visions. Dreams sent to minds of those nearby. Blueprints of ships with gold-lined armor. Maps of stars no one had seen. Formulas that bent the rules of known science. And slowly the humans began to build. The first ship took 7 years. It was not shaped like anything Earth had made before. Smooth, silent, covered in flowing patterns of gold. The armor was not metal but something living and aware. The ship moved without thrusters. It hummed with the same sound as the core. And it listened. It responded to voice, not command. It needed no pilot, but always obeyed one. When it flew for the first time, the sky above the Arctic turned gold for 6 seconds. Then clear again as if nothing happened. The world governments kept it hidden. They feared what others might do, but they also feared what the ship might become. Then came the Zarnath attack, and the golden ship saved a colony without firing once. It shielded every building, disabled every enemy vessel, and brought the people home safely. Now the core hummed louder. The scientists stood around it watching its surface shift into symbols that looked like stars and rivers and veins. One of them, Dr. Lena Vale, stepped closer, and the symbols stopped moving. They formed into a single image, a human face half covered in light, half in darkness. Then the image faded and the chamber lights dimmed. They all knew what it meant. The core was ready, and it was warning them. Far from Earth across the stars, an ancient signal began to echo. The Zarnath were not the only ones who noticed the golden ships. The others came, some with curiosity, some with fear, and a few with hate. One race called the Drex had been sleeping for centuries. Their sensors finally detected the golden resonance. They had known it once, a long time ago. They remembered it not as friend or enemy, but as balance, a power that appeared only when something went wrong in the galaxy. They feared its return, and they prepared. Back in the Arctic, the humans decided it was time to test what the core had truly taught them. They built a second chamber deeper underground. This one was not for study. It was for conversation. Inside it, they placed a young boy named Aiden who had dreamed of the core since birth. No one knew why, but he understood it better than anyone. He sat across from the core and simply listened for hours. Then he stood and told the scientists what he heard. It wants to protect, not destroy. It waits for the choice. It listens for the threat. The scientists asked what choice. Aiden said, "Our choice. Do we use the gift for peace, or let it shape us for war?" The room fell silent. The core pulsed once, then twice, then again. A soft sound like breathing filled the base. Above the chamber, the golden ships sat in silence, not sleeping, not still, but waiting. And far across the stars, others were coming. High above Earth, 3 golden ships hovered like silent stars or smooth surfaces, reflecting sunlight, with no sound, no flame, no signal, just presence. They had been resting, waiting after the test flight, after the first offense now. They seemed to stir again, not because of Earth, not because of humans, but because something out there had spoken. A strange ripple moved through the stars of vibration, not heard, but felt deep within the hull of the ships and deep within the golden core. In the command center of the Arctic base, Dr. Lena Vale stared at the screens as new readings flowed in strange energy pulses moving toward the solar system, each with rhythm, each with a purpose. She called the council, the scientists, the pilots, and even Aiden, the boy who had spoken with the core. Together they watched as the data built a map in the air lines and shapes glowing in gold, showing a path leading to a single point near the edge of the system. No one said a word until Aiden whispered, "They are coming to talk, not to fight. Not yet." The golden ships responded before any order was given, lifting from the earth without sound and gliding into space like leaves on wind drawn toward the ripple. As they moved, stars shifted, shadows bent, and something else joined the journey, a smaller shape, dark gray, like stone wrapped in rings of soft light. It was not human. It was not golden. It was the first of the others. When the golden ships arrived, the stranger did not run, did not cloak, did not aim weapons. It simply opened. A beam of silver light reached from it to the lead golden ship, and the core within hummed louder as if in welcome. Inside that light stood a being tall with arms that flowed like smoke and a face that changed each second not in fear, but an expression of wonder, of learning, of memory. It spoke without sound, but its thoughts filled the minds of all who watched. We are the Ilari. We knew your kind once. We remember the gold. You have woken it again. Why now? Why again? The golden ship answered with light patterns across its hull, telling stories through motion, through color, through time. It showed Earth. It showed humanity. It showed the rescue, the defense, the fear, the hope, and the choice still waiting. The Ilari paused and moved closer, their ship folding inward and reshaping into a new form, smoother, glowing faintly with soft blue lights like breath. You are young. You are bold. But do you understand? The gold does not follow. It remembers, and it tests. The humans aboard watched as more visions appeared, not from the aliens, but from the core itself, pulsing through the ship into their minds. They saw ancient battles in starless voids. They saw the gold standing between chaos and order, not as ruler, not as savior, but as balance. They saw what happened when one side grew too greedy, too afraid, too proud. And they saw what came after. The Ilari broke the silence. We fled that end. We buried memory. But now it stirs again. Do you lead it, or does it lead you? Aiden stepped forward from his seat near the viewing panel, speaking not to command, not to explain, but simply to answer. We do not lead. We choose. And we listen. And we try. The Ilari being tilted its shifting face, as if tasting the answer, as if weighing it. Then it bowed low, its arms folding like wings, its light softening. Then more lights appeared. Not weapons, not ships, but signals. Others answering, others watching. Aliens from many worlds, some unknown, some forgotten, some feared. Each began to echo the golden pulse in their own way. Some with song, some with movement, some with light. Across the stars a new rhythm began to build, not of war, not yet, but of a tension of awareness. And Earth stood at the center. Back in the Arctic base, the scientists scrambled to decode the new pulses, the maps, the signals, the meanings behind the strange greetings. Some showed peace, some showed challenge, and some showed nothing, just silence like a wall between worlds. Dr. Vale turned Aiden, her voice low, her eyes wide. We are not alone, not anymore, and they are watching every step. He nodded, his gaze still on the stars. Then we better make each one count. Below the ice, the golden core pulsed once more. A long hum that reached through every ship, every base, every star touched by its echo. It was not a warning. It was not a promise. It was something older than both. A reminder. That power remembers. And balance watches. As the golden ships began to return to Earth, a new message burned across the stars. Not in words, not in threat, but in presence. First contact was not once. It was again and again until choice was made, and the test was over. The golden ships floated above Earth like silent guards, their presence no longer hidden, no longer a secret, but still wrapped in mystery as the world below watched with awe and fear. Deep beneath the ocean, in a quiet command center far from the eyes of the public, a small team worked around the clock, studying the energy that pulsed from the golden hulls. Each pulse carried information, each rhythm told a story, but the meaning remained just beyond their reach. Among them was Mira, a young engineer with a sharp mind and a quiet voice. She had spent her life studying signals, waves, frequencies, but this was different, this was alive. She sat alone late into the night, listening to the soft hum that came from the core of the ship parked above the Pacific Ocean. Her eyes scanned the data streams, her fingers tapped gently against the console, and then something changed. The pulse shifted slightly, just a tiny beat off rhythm. It repeated once, then again, and then formed a pattern not random, not chaotic, but structured like a code waiting to be solved. Mira leaned forward, her heart racing as she ran the new pattern through the translator. She had built it had never worked before. The golden code was too strange, too complex, but now it began to light up. One word appeared. Awaken. She stared at the word, her breath caught in her throat. It was not a command, it was not a threat, it was an invitation. She sent the data to the others across the world, scientists, leaders, generals, and one person she had never met, but always heard about, Aiden, the boy who first heard the goal long ago. Aiden was now a young man, quiet, focused, always listening. His mind seemed to hear things others could not sounds, but meaning. He stood in a chamber filled with gold, his hand resting on the core that once glowed faint but now pulsed strong. He read the word awaken, and nodded slowly, then spoke softly as if to someone standing beside him. "We are ready." The golden ships heard him, not with ears, not with machines, but with something older, deeper. The one above the ocean shifted its shape slightly, its smooth hull opening like petals, revealing a sphere of light that floated gently into the air. Around the world, people watched from screens as the golden light rose into the sky, then split into many smaller lights, each one flying in a different direction, each one seeking something. In a mountain cave in South America, in a forgotten ruin in Africa, in a frozen valley in Siberia, the lights found ancient stones covered in strange markings, stones no human had touched for thousands of years. The stones lit up gold lines spreading like veins across their surfaces. As if waking from a long sleep, the symbols began to glow, the air shimmered, and the ground trembled, not in danger, but in recognition. The stones and the ships were part of the same story, and now that story was waking. In orbit, the golden ships shifted again, forming a perfect triangle between Earth, the moon, and Mars. Beams of light connected them, not lasers, not weapons, but bridges of energy, alive with movement, alive with memory. Then a voice came, not loud, not harsh, but calm and clear. It echoed in every golden chamber, in every activated stone, in the hearts of those who had touched the gold. "You have chosen to listen. You have chosen to grow. Now you must choose to remember." The voice did not belong to a man or woman. It was old, like wind through trees, like water under ice. It spoke of the past of a war that burned stars, of a power that once brought peace, then destruction. The gold was a gift from a people long gone, a race that called themselves the Orbital, who believed in balance, in strength born not from control, but from unity. They built the golden ships not to conquer, but to protect, to test, to teach. And now their creation had chosen humanity, not because they were ready, but because they were willing. The light from the ships grew brighter, bathing Earth in a soft golden glow. For a moment the sky shimmered, and the stars seemed to hum with the same rhythm, the same message. Awaken. In the command center, Mira stood surrounded by glowing screens, tears in her eyes, not from fear, but from understanding. She turned to her team, her voice trembling. "It is not a weapon. It is a mirror." Across the world, others came to the same realization. The gold was not here to fight for them. It was here to show them what they could be, what they must be if they wanted to survive what was coming. Far beyond the edge of the system, dark shapes moved silent, cold, watching. They had seen the gold awaken, and now they prepared. But Earth was no longer asleep. The gold had returned, and so had the memory, and so had the choice. The Black Fleet did not wait long. As soon as Earth's last signal reached the edge of the solar system, the enemies moved with purpose, their formation tight, their weapons glowing in the shadows of deep space. They came not to talk, not to reason, but to erase. Aiden stood in the command deck, eyes locked on the screen, each red, moving closer each minute, shrinking the distance between war and survival. Behind him, Dr. Vale spoke softly, repeating the readings from the ancient gate. On Mars, the symbols were changing faster, now glowing brighter, the pulse matching the rhythm of something alive. On the moon, Mira watched from the outpost, her hands pressed to the glass, her breath held as the golden ships began to shift. Their glow deepened and their shape flickered, as if unfolding like petals in reverse. The gold peeled away to reveal a core of pure white light. Each ship was more than it seemed, more than armor or metal. It was a shell covering something, waiting something old. Across Earth cities, dim power, redirected shields humming louder than ever. Thousands of eyes turned to the sky, watching and hoping, believing in something they still barely understood. The dark fleet crossed the asteroid belt, a wave of silence, following them. Each ship, like a blade of night, ready to strike. Their commanders gave no warning, no demand, just signals of destruction, messages of dominance, cold and sharp. Inside the ancient gate, the light surged, and then something happened, something that froze the air, something that made even the stars feel still. The gate opened, not just physically, but through space, through time, a ripple that stretched beyond what sensors could measure, beyond what minds could fully grasp. From that ripple, a shape emerged, smooth and slow, not one of Earth's ships, not one of the Golden Fleet, but something different, something larger. Its surface shimmered with colors. No one could name its movement, calm, like it had done this before, like it knew the outcome before it even began. Dr. Vale gasped softly, her voice breaking. "It is them. It is the first ones." The ship drifted past Mars, past the moon, each golden vessel turning to face it, bowing almost as if welcoming home a parent or a god the humans watched speechless, unsure whether to feel fear or relief. The Dark Fleet paused for the first time, their sensors reacting to the arrival alarms blinking across their war decks. The command ship sent a warning across its own lines, danger unknown, power measurable. The new vessel ignored them, its presence alone, pushed back the dark, their weapons flickered, their walls groaned under invisible pressure. Back on Earth, Aiden stood taller, his fear still there, but now wrapped in something stronger. The golden light from the alien ship pulsed, and Earth's own ships responded, shields strengthening, weapons quiet, but humming with golden glow. The Dark Fleet made their choice, they fired. Dozens of beams, thousands of missiles, waves of raw energy, all aimed at the new arrival, screaming through the void, tearing space itself, but none of it landed, none of it touched. Each weapon dissolved mid-flight, not struck, not blocked, but undone as if time forgot them, as if reality denied their existence. The alien vessel opened a ring of light around itself, and from it poured energy, not destruction, but a memory light that painted stars with meaning, signals sent to every corner of the solar system, showing images, showing truth. A war long ago, a promise, made a test, given the gift of gold, not for war, but for proof that Earth could be more than fire, more than fear, proof that one day they would stand not with force, but with purpose. Mira saw the message, and tears filled her eyes, not because of fear, but because they had been seen, because they had been chosen. On the Dark Fleet, panic spread, systems failed, communication scrambled one by one. Their ships began to turn away, engines flaring in retreat, not in shame, but in survival. The alien ship did not follow. It simply waited as the enemy vanished into the void, then slowly turned its focus to Earth. The golden ships followed, forming a ring, a symbol, a seal. Then a voice came, not through sound, but through thought, gentle and deep. You waited, you protected, you remembered. You are ready. The gates will remain, the watchers will return, the test is done. Then the light dimmed, the ship rose upward and faded into the stars, leaving behind only silence and golden glow. Earth did not cheer right away, it listened, it remembered. Aiden closed his eyes, breathing in the quiet, feeling the shift. Something had changed, not just in space, not just in power, but in them all. Humanity had stood on the edge, had faced the unknown, and chosen not to strike, not to fear. They had answered the test. And somewhere across the stars, the watchers had seen. The sky was quiet for a moment of silence, so deep it seemed to stretch across space. In time, the Black Fleet hung in place, weapons still glowing, engines still roaring, but nothing moved, nothing struck. Aiden stood in the center of the core chamber, his eyes locked on the swirling golden orb before him. The light had changed now, not just glowing, but flowing like water made of fire. Each pulse sent waves through the floor, through the air, through his soul. Dr. Vale whispered from the screen above, watching the data. In disbelief, it is alive, it is aware. On Mars, the gates pulse and sync with the orb's strange symbols dancing across the stone, as if telling a story long forgotten, a story of trust, of betrayal, of patience. Mira stared at the stars beyond the window, her breath held her hands, trembling. The golden ships had stopped moving, but their energy was not still, it surged and shimmered, waiting. Then the stars blinked, not dimmed, not vanished, but shifted as if a shadow passed over them. Something massive, something ancient arrived without sound, without warning. The Dark Fleet turned, every ship reoriented to face the new presence, every weapon pointed away from Earth toward the new arrival. Out of the black came light, not golden, not red, but silver and blue, a color that shimmered with depth like ocean beneath ice. Ships shaped like wings, like leaves, like music made real. They moved in silence, but their presence thundered to the minds of all who saw them. The Orbital have returned, said Aiden, not in fear, but in hope. The golden ships lifted slowly into space, joining their creators a pattern. Complete the message, receive the allies awakened. One of the silver ships moved forward, large, smooth, and glowing with ancient markings. It hovered between Earth and the Dark Fleet as if to say enough. The black ships pulsed with anger, their weapons charged again. Red beams reached out, screaming through space, but they never reached their target. The silver ship sang not with sound, but with light. A wave of energy rippled from it, touching each red beam and turning it to dust, turning fury to ash. One by one, the dark ships vanished. Some fled, some crumbled, some turned to mist and light, as if they were never truly there. The battle never came, the war never began. The golden ships returned to orbit around Earth, their glow softer. Now their task, complete their promise kept. Aiden watched as the silver ship sent a final signal, a message not in words, but in feeling, one of gratitude, one of peace, one of warning. The voice of the Ority came through every device in simple language, now clear. You chose while you waited, you listened, you did not strike first, you are not like them. Mira felt tears on her face, not of fear, not of grief, but of something deeper, something older than victory. Hope. The golden orb in the core chamber dimmed, slowly its glow now calm, its energy folded inward resting. We were the test, said Dr. Vale, her voice soft. We were the fire. They watched to see what would rise, what we would become. And we rose. Aiden stepped outside into the night sky, stars above brighter than ever, the air warm, and filled with silent song the ships above shimmered like memories, like dreams once forgotten now returned. He looked to the horizon where the first light of dawn touched the edge of the earth and smiled. The goal was never just armor, never just metal. It was memory. It was a promise. It was a proof that even in silence someone was watching, someone was waiting. And they had answered. The people of Earth would not forget this, not the light, not the ships, not the choice to stand, not to strike. Cities began to light up not with fear, but with joy. People gathered to look up, to point, to speak of the day. The stars came close, and Earth stood strong. Schools told the story of the test of the Golden Fleet, of the Dark Challenge, and the silent song of peace that ended it all. New songs were written, stories shared, names remembered, not just of heroes, but of those who chose not to be cruel, not to act in fear. In space, the silver ships drifted back into the dark, leaving behind only light, only memory. The gates on Mars closed slowly, but the glow remained ready for another call, for another time. Earth moved on not as it was before, but as something new, something seen, something known. Aiden sat by the sea, years later, golden light on the water sky. Clear stars above his child sat beside him, asking again for the story. And he told it again with simple words and a heart full of truth. They gave us gold not to fight, not to win, but to prove we were worthy. And we were. The end.